let's see. So trailing the previous bar high or bar low did not seem to work properly. Well, okay, let's take a look. So let me just go make a quick order here. And let's see. So Bob, are you using the fixed one, or are you using the trailing one? So you'll see that there's everything here has a duplicate inside the trailing. Oh, so the issue, I'm going to assume that the issue started when you're changing the number of bars back. So, all right, so anyways, let's go to previous bar, high-low, trailing. Put that in there, and let's take a look. All right, so we have our initial placement. There's going to be two ways to consider trailing the previous low or high. We'll just talk about long trades here. So if you're trailing the previous low side, right? So you can see it's BlackBird is set up so that it's going to be just trailing with a look back of 1. So that means just the most recent bar's low price, right? And our process look back is set to single value. So right, so these settings here work exactly the way that they do inside of Bloodhound, right? So Bloodhound has has price capabilities within the solvers. You can use price as your input, and when you're using price, you have these process lookbacks. So and they're the same. So a single bar means you're just looking at just the one bar. So, let's see. So if we have a process of 1, let's say, so here's the current active bar right here on our chart. So, with a look back of 1, that means you're using the most recent bar that's closed, right? Only 1 bar back. So if I up this to 2, then you're going to be going 2 bars back. So it's going to be this green bar. It'll be using the low of that green bar. And if I go 3, let's see. Well, we just closed a bar here, so let me go, I'll up it to 4. So we got 1, 2, 3, and then the red bar here, this would be the 4th bar back. And so with a process look back of single value, it's going to be using the low of that red bar. Now, typically, I'd say most people probably want to use the lowest low of all 4 bars back. So you're going to want to set it to, most people are probably going to want to use the minimum value of the last 4 bars, right? So looking at these last 4 bars, right? So from the red bar and the 3 green bars, if I use minimum value, it's going to be using the lowest low of those 4 bars. So in this case, it would be this green bar here, right? That one has the lowest low. So then this low would be used if I change it to minimum value here. All right, so let me take a look at the board here. All right, so we have a look back period of 1. All right, yeah, so Bob, if you're wanting to use, for example, the lowest low of the last 3 bars, then you want to set it up, you want your process to be using the minimum value. All right, so let's look at our chart right now. So using this, looking back 3 bars and using the minimum value, I can see this green bar here is the lowest low of the last 3 bars. All right, so we got 2 dojis here, which are a little higher than this most recent green bar here, most recent up bar. So If I switch it to single value, then we would be using, well, let's see, okay, we had another bar closed, so if I switch it to single value, it's going to be the low of this doji right here, right? This second doji here. That would be single value. Now, if I choose max value, it's going to be finding, basically, it'll be finding the highest of the lows, looking back 3 bars. So let's see now. So bar 1, bar 2, bar 3. So the red bar has the highest low. And so, yeah, so the low of the red bar is the low that would be used with the current configuration, right? Looking back 3 bars using, and we're finding the maximum value of the last 3 bars. So that would be this red candle here has the maximum or the highest low value, has the highest price of the low prices. So let's see, we'll just set it to single value here. And all right, so that's for the initial placement. And remember, since you chose a trailing, we also need to go into the trailing here and go in and adjust the settings for our trailing. So let's just go match it there. Yeah, let's see, single value. Yeah, okay, so they're both on a look back period of 3 using single value. So let's click OK. Excuse me. And let's just go long. And there we go. Excuse me. So there we go. There's the, oops, I grabbed the flag by accident. And I grabbed the flag, so I turned off the auto trailing. So remember, if you grab a flag by accident, it does turn off the auto trailing. Let's pin that sucker open. So let's see, let me move the market up. So our next low is going to be right there. Right. However, you'll notice something here. Let's get this bar to close. There we go. So the bar closed, and you'll notice our stop loss did not go backwards. All right, so BlackBird's designed to not have your stop loss go backwards unless you really intend that. So if you do want your stop loss to go backwards, in the opposite direction, typically, then we would need to go and turn on one of these safeguards. Yeah, there we go. Allow widening of your stop loss during a trade. So you'd have to enable that safeguard there, and that would have allowed our stop loss to go down a couple of ticks to use this low here. So, but let's just keep it like it is. And let's see. So there's bar 1, bar 2, bar 3. So, all right, let me move the market up here. All right. And there we go. There's our third bar back. So 1, 2, 3. Yep. So there we go. Our stop loss matches the third bar back. And of course, the fourth bar back is right. It's lower, so the stop loss is not going to move down. So let's get this next bar to close. And there we go. So now this green bar here is the third bar back, and of course our stop loss did not go backwards. So there. All right. Let's let me make some adjustments here. So let's set this up the way most people would be setting this up. So we're going to use the lowest low, the minimum value, or the lowest low, the last 3 bars. And then you can see our short trades, it's going to use the maximum value for the high prices. So in other words, the highest high. The highest high of the last 3 bars. So there's our initial placement. Now let's go and adjust our trailing actions here, our trailing rule. And we'll switch this to use the minimum value as well, minimum low, like so. And let's take a short trade, and bingo. So we're in a short trade now. So of the last 3 bars, right there's the highest high. So stop loss is sitting right there on the highest high. And as this bar closes, this is still going to remain the highest high of the last 3 bars. I'm going to create myself a little drawing aid here. So there we go. There's the last 3 bars. All right, I'm going to get this bar to close up. Just kind of create some variation in the bars. All right, so looking at the last 3 bars, there we go. We're still sitting at stop loss, still sitting at the highest high of the last 3 bars there. Oh, I don't want to get taken out. Let's pull that bar down. All right, I'm going to turn the trademark, the plot executions off there. Okay, so we got a new bar. So there's our most recent 3s, and so there's the highest high of the last 3 bars, and still the highest high of the last 3 bars, and still the highest high of the last 3 bars. So our stop loss hasn't moved any. All right, now our stop loss can start to move down here using the last 3 bars. Okay, let me take a look and see if there's any questions on this. And all right, so it sounds like Bob's got the correct settings he needs now. So all right, Frank would like me to cover the Process Lookback By section here. So let's see. All right, let's get BlackBird open. And let's see, I'll do it from the initial placement area. So, okay. So you'll notice that this section here, right? So when we're have our select mode set to price, it's very similar to Bloodhound. So if you guys have Bloodhound, so right you select the prices to use. And then you can determine, how many bars back do you need to process. So this lookback can be either a lookback period, or it can just be a static lookback. So, and determining whether it's being used as a period, or if the look back is being used as just a static number of bars back, what determines that functionality is the Process Lookback By. So single value means that you're just looking at just 3 bars back. You're looking at just that single bar 3 bars back, right? So, or if we wanted to look back 6 bars, then a single value would be looking at only just that one bar that's 6 bars back historically. So let's see, if we go to our chart, so the now the starting point. So let me go back to 1. So with the look back period of 1, so a 1 typically means just the previous bar back. Now that all depends on NinjaTrader's calculate on bar close setting. So we kind of have to take a step back here. So to determine which is bar 1, which is bar 1, or a look back of 1 is the starting, right, your starting point. So, and your starting point is determined by this calculate on bar close NinjaTrader setting, right? This Ninja setting determines that. So with this calculate on bar close, when it's set to true, then that means Ninja only looks at closed bars. So Ninja never looks at the active building bar, right? So if we set this, here, there we go. So if we set this to false, then that means Ninja uses the current live bar, the bar that's building, as bar 1. Right? So you can see there's a difference. Either you can use the live bar that's building to be your most current bar, or you'll use the previous closed bar. So, so your starting point, your starting bar is determined by the calculate on bar close, right? So most people are using this COBC as true. So we'll just kind of, consider that COBC is always set to true. So that means we're going to start with the most recent closed bar. So, okay, so with that being known, now we can kind of proceed here. So, all right, yeah. So a look back period of 1, single value, means we're going to be looking at this closed red bar, starting with the closed red bar. And of course, if I go to 6, then that means we're going to count back 6 bars and use that bar. So yeah, so it'd be this red bar here, where my cursor is. All right, so single value is pretty simple to understand. It's just the 1 bar, so many bars back. All right, now an average. If we're using an average, that's an SMA. So an SMA is a true average of all prices. So basically, we're now using an SMA with a period of 6. So it would be a 6-period SMA of the low prices. So you can remember, so we're taking the low prices and we're taking the last 6 low prices and we're averaging them together, which is effectively is an SMA of the low prices. So, and if we were using a minimum value, basically that's the lowest of the prices found. So if we're using low, if we're looking at the lows of the bar, then we're going to look back 6 bars and we're going to find the minimum value of all those lows. So that effectively is the lowest low, looking back 6 bars. Now, if I change this to high, then we would be using the lowest of the last 6 high prices. So out of the last 6 bars, we're going to find the minimum or the lowest high price. And then max value, well, that's going to be the opposite of minimum value. So as we're looking back 6 bars, we're going to find the highest or the maximum value, the highest value, maximum value of the low prices. So we could also, if we wanted to use the open, we could find the highest value of the open prices for the last 6 bars. So, all right. Now, if your look back period is set to 1, effectively all these settings do exactly the same thing, right? Because you're only looking at just the last bar. You're only looking at one bar, and you're only looking at the last bar. So effectively, all of these options here are just going to return the exact same value. So. And let's see, let me restore this back to normal here. Okay, there. All right, and of course, remember, if you would like, you can also set like a tick offset. So if you wanted to track say like the lowest low of the last two bars, and you also want to put a buffer in there, you could put a 1 tick offset, or a 2 tick offset from the lowest low of the last two bars. Something like that. Right, now remember, that's only for our initial placement. So I would need to go in and adjust my trailing as well. So there we go. Let's see. All right, so let's go long. And so there's the last two bars. So there's the lowest low, the last two bars. And we have our 1 tick offset here. All right, let me take a look at the board. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, Frank kind of brings up a good point there. Basically, every price that's available from NinjaTrader is included in here. Let's see. Let's take a look at the prices in here. Yeah, so there's a scroll bar, so we can scroll down, and there's a lot more. There's more. There's other prices down below here, down here. So you just scroll up. So, all right. One thing that's unique to strategies is strategies also can provide you a entry price as well. So Frank is asking, if an indicator is being used to set an entry, okay, so we're talking an entry order, I take it. So if we're using an indicator to set an entry order, so let's say a limit, so let's say we're going to use a limit order, and we want our limit order to use an indicator value. So we're going to use an indicator to set the price of our limit entry order. Yeah, so is there a way to set a limit price? Yeah, so there you go. That's it. So just set your select mode. We need to select the mode of using an indicator value, versus using price. So we're going to use an indicator value. And let's see, I think that white line is an SMA 14. So as an example, there I can just set my initial placement to the SMA 14, like so. And actually, let me just set a cancel, so we'll cancel it after 5 bars. Okay. So now let's go long, and presto, right there you can see our entry order is sitting right on the SMA there. All right, well guys, have a good weekend then, gentlemen. I'll see you guys next week, I hope. All right, get out there, enjoy the weekend. See you guys later. Thanks for the questions, Frank. Those were good questions. So, all right, guys, talk to you later. Bye-bye.